Welcome to the All Things Event Planning with April podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. Each week, we'll be spilling all the secrets that other event planners and industry professionals don't want you to know. From negotiating for the perfect venue to knowing when to walk away from a project, we'll give you the expertise so that you can plan any event, regardless of your experience level. Now, let's get into this week's topic with your host, April.
Hey, and Happy New Year. Happy 2018 to everybody out there listening. I hope everyone enjoyed their new year. I hope that 2018 brings positivity, prosperity, and that you're able to fulfill all of the dreams that you have set out to do. 2018 is going to be a very good year for me, and I hope that it treats you the exact same way. So now that we have some of the formalities out the way, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode of All Things Event Planning with me, April. If you missed the last episode that we aired, it was talking about how to do a venue walkthrough like a pro. So if you are interested in that, I provide a click through to the last episode and all of our previous episodes of this podcast so that you're always in the know. So this week, we're going to be talking about a topic that has more recently become something that I have to pay very close attention to. For those of you all who follow me on my social media platforms, you know that I recently became engaged back in September, and so now it's the planner's turn to plan their own wedding. And although this process is very exciting, it's also very eye-opening. It's an eye-opening experience to kind of see what your clients have to go through when they're planning their wedding. Sometimes you're not in all of the weeds of the things that they have to do, so this is giving me a front row seat as to all of the ins and outs of planning the wedding of your dreams. And so the next few podcast episodes will be talking about things that you need to do specifically planning your wedding. For all the 2018 brides like myself, this segment is for us. Okay, so you are in the process of planning your wedding, and to me, I feel that there's always certain things that you find to be more important than others, and we're going to talk about picking an officiant for your special day, or a pastor, a preacher, depending on your denomination. Just what are some tips to picking a good person to oversee the wedding process? So if you're interested in hearing the tips that I have for you, then stay tuned. Okay, so some of the things that my fiance and I have been doing when picking an officiant or pastor or preacher for the big day is we're first going through just their overall website. We've been using sites like Wedding Wires, recommendations from people local in the area, or things like The Knot. Those are really good resources and tools for looking up officiants. I will say that the officiants that you find on Wedding Wire or on The Knot, they tend to be a little higher only because they are associated with that website, but that doesn't mean that they're not good. It's just that sometimes you might want to go through getting a recommendation from a family friend or doing your own research online. It might help you come out a little cheaper, but those are two great starting points if you're looking for an officiant. The next thing that we are doing is we're looking for the amount of years that they have been officiating. Some people have started really recently, which is fine. Some have a lot more experience. And so depending on your faith or denomination, you might want someone who's more experienced. You might not care how long that they've been officiating, but that's something too that you want to kind of keep in mind, because of course, people with more experience tend to be able to play to the crowd a lot better or be able to make adjustments depending on what happens at the ceremony. So that's something else that you want to kind of keep in mind. Also, where they were ordained or what church they're affiliated with, that's definitely something that is extremely important. If they match your religious beliefs, it makes it a lot easier for you to feel comfortable with them, to select them. And then it's talking to them. Make sure that you have a very lengthy conversation. I know when my fiance and I have been talking to officiants, the conversation lasts between 45 minutes to an hour. You don't have to be that thorough. It doesn't have to be that long. But one of the things that we are really concerned about or where they're affiliated with, how long that they've been doing the officiating, and the type of questions that they ask us as a couple to try to get to know us. If you can meet with them in person or through Skype, that's great, but having a conversation with them too is better. You always want to make sure that whatever vendor you are selecting, that you are comfortable with them. So you don't want to just pick someone and you've never had a conversation, you never talked to them. You do want to make sure that you're able to ask lengthy questions so that you as a couple feel comfortable, because the last thing you want is to have a vendor over your special day that you're only going to do one time and you don't like them, or you're getting a strange vibe from them, or just something doesn't click. So those are the things that I would definitely look out for. If you have family recommendations, go with that. If you've seen them in service, that's something else to consider. Also, ask them the actual signing process of from the time that they officiate your ceremony to the time they send off the paperwork. If you're getting married in your state or the same jurisdiction like county, then the courthouse would be able to give you that information, but they should also know the law of the paperwork timeline as well. So those are just some of the things that you want to keep in mind when picking out your officiant. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any more questions, comments, or concerns, you can feel free to reach out to me. My email is info@platinumeeventsbyapril.com. Also visit my website, because I plan events too, at platinumeeventsbyapril.com. And I look forward to speaking with you next week. Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to the All Things Event Planning Podcast.
All Things Event Planning Podcast.
With your host, April. Loved this week's episode? Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or Google Play. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.